shine a light on as they carry us through the gale. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until.
I think an interesting place to start. Robin brought up Kwame Ture, and there's an interesting piece in Black Power, the book that he wrote with Charles Hamilton, and a lot of people talk about that book. I think it doesn't get read as much, but in that book, Black Power, which is written in this moment of the emergence of the Black Power movement in the mid 1960s, they said the only acceptable coalition that the Black Power movement will enter into in the South is with poor whites. And Kwame Ture was a good friend of Anne Braden's, and a lot of that kind of analysis, I think, came out of conversations with her and other folks in the movement. And that's very interesting, and I think it kind of goes against the grain of the way that a lot of folks think about multiracial organizing. So that's just one point. I think another point is that there was this movement in the 1960s of a lot of white organizers to go into white communities to do white organizing, which Anne Braden was a huge part of, and that was really, really important. One point that she always made was this cannot be done absent of coalition with the Black struggle. It has to be a multiracial foundation. And a lot of folks weren't doing that, and I think don't do that. And so how do you build movements on a multiracial foundation? I think it's incredibly important.
Roz is doing that work right now. Roz and Reverend Barber. I mean, literally doing that work right now. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Reverend Barber, Liz or Harris, and of course you, Roz, at the forefront of this. You're doing that work exactly with poor white people.
So, we believe this is the only way to do this work. It's the only way to win, for all of us to win, that we have to build the kind of movement that crosses lines, and it's with poor white folks and other people of color and others who can be drawn to coming together in one voice and in one demand. And and for some people, this doesn't make sense, especially now in a period where people are talking identity politics more and other things. But what we've seen in this country is that this works, that people have neglected poor white folks because it's not easy. And we believe, and it's true, and lots of folks believe this who are trying to organize, that white people are suffering because of racism, and they can see it if you take time. And they can see it if you don't take the time, because white people are people, and they are understanding their own conditions. And people will rise to the occasion. People will stand up. And the biggest example in our work has been our work in West Virginia, dealing with Manchin. So we have a vibrant Poor People's Campaign coordinating committee and work in West Virginia. And it's because our organizers working with folks who are organizing themselves in many different ways that we don't all think about as organizing. People are organizing, we get together with them, we're talking about the possibilities. And people see those possibilities, and then they do the work. And so while there are people who in West Virginia who Manchin says you don't deserve in West Virginia $15, you can live off 11, is what he told people. And people are basically saying that makes no sense to me. And then there's some other folks who are all being connected together who are saying, yeah, well, I tried this, and this is the way we organize, and what are you doing? And we're seeing in West Virginia folks coming together and sitting in and writing together and raising money together and educating their children together. So this understanding of the need to build a fusion movement, a movement that's across all lines, it's clear. It's a clear thing, and it bears itself out in our day-to-day work. And it's through this collective activity that people can move forward. And that was clear to me when I was working in a factory, is that people who on the outside who never come together, but when they come together in struggle and understand more and more from each other about what's happening, people stay together, they change things. And it's in this method, in this model, that we can have a significant change in the country. Now it may take more than the Poor People's Campaign, but the Poor People's Campaign is in there in 37 states doing this model, really trying to bring people together, with a clear understanding of the world. We understand capitalism in the Poor People's Campaign, and we talk to people about that is systemic racism, it's systemic poverty, and who benefits from that are the rich folks who control us all, who control our communities. And so, campaigns like this are not difficult, but you have to be committed to it. And you have to be willing to and it's a long haul. It's not easy. It's not easy pickings. And a lot of times we as organizers, me included, want to take the easy route to organize it. We can't win that way. And until we realize that, and until we have some faith in our brothers and sisters who are white and our brothers and sisters who come from different backgrounds, we won't win. And that's the work I do every single day. And that's what I get up thinking about. And we've all got to do that. And people in this call, in this four squares, understand that. And people who are listening understand that. So we've got our work cut out. But my guess is that we would not be in this position now if we had taken a little time 10 years ago. And so when you have a vacuum, the vacuum gets filled. In this case, filled by the right wing with nonsense.
Just to both confirm and uphold everything that Roz just said, because I'm a historian, so I think about history. Yeah. If you look historically, why does Jim Crow and disfranchisement in the South and lynching take place after 1890? Why not after 1877? Because fusion politics. It was at the end of Reconstruction that you have these labor-based, multiracial organizations in the South, the Greenback Labor Party, the Populist Movement, the Readjusters. They were a threat. And the way to eliminate that threat was through taking the vote away from Black people.
That's right.
White supremacy and straight up violence. Mm-hmm. You could say the same thing about the New Deal period, where you have this emergent labor CIO organization, and then the Red Scare, in some ways was crushing it. But then let's take the 1970s, the period of Greensboro. I mean, think about what preceded that. The biggest strike wave in U.S. history in the 1970s. That's what came right before that. And the thing is, and this is why I hate liberalism, because liberals ultimately, are responsible in some ways for supporting a judicial and legislative approach that allows white supremacy to flourish. Mm. And so what you end up getting is all these white supremacist organizations that get to exist, that get supported, that don't get indicted or convicted for murder, and they end up getting a platform. And as you said, Rebecca, they get the cordon of police protection, right? So what ends up happening is that you have the kind of reaction. It's not just a backlash, but it's a reaction fueled by the state, the very, very liberal state. Because don't forget, it was Jimmy Carter that signed the Hyde Amendment, by the way. But still, you have this sort of I wouldn't even call it a right-wing reaction. It's a capitalist reaction.
That's right.
To multiracial working class organizing, and that's sort of where we are today. In that, who showed up at the Capitol on January 6th? It wasn't the white working class.
No.
Those are middle class white people, professional right-wingers, entrepreneurs, and the police state itself. They showed up, right? And meanwhile, all these poor working class white people are struggling.
That's right.
And they're being told that that the reason they're poor is, once again, because these Negroes out there fighting for George Floyd are threatening your lives, right? And so we're back at this thing. That's why, as Roz was saying, it's really hard work that must be sustained,
That's
but
right.
it's not impossible. It's just not. You know, we've proven that it happens, but every time it happens, we get the reaction. And that's why, as long as we believe in a kind of liberal, if we think that if we could just elect Biden, elect the liberal in office, and that's going to give us the breathing space we need to basically fulfill the creed that is America, that's just bullshit. It's just not true. You know, it's just not.
Ben, do you want to jump in with anything here?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'd add, and Roz taught me this, for those of us, especially for white folks, but for people who are trying to build a multiracial movement that's along class lines, you can't go around race. You have to go through it.
You have to go through it.
Braden talked about the centrality of race. And so, we can't, to use Robin's example, like we have to get poor white folks to come to the George Floyd protests. And that's possible, but it's hard work. But I think developing that understanding and developing it only really develops through struggle. That's how people learn. And so I think, where do you build those common struggles? And Braden came out of the labor movement. That's kind of where she began that. They built the Southern Mountain Project and the grassroots organizing project in Mississippi, specifically to organize, in the case of the Mountain Project, poor white people to come to the Poor People's Campaign demonstration in 1968, Resurrection City.
That's right.
And so, this point of not avoiding issues of race, but building a multiracial movement on the basis of overcoming and overthrowing white supremacy.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. Freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers, sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers, sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be just one in the number as we stand against tyranny. To me, young people come first, they come first.